This is PJ. Welcome back to my channel PJ Tech World. If you have not subscribed my channel yet, please do subscribe for more interesting videos. So today I am going to show you how to secure your AWS setup. So when you building your own infrastructure in cloud, security must be the first concern on your mind. So today I am going to show you how to secure AWS setup using 10 most easy steps. So let's get started. So first step is AWS organizations. So AWS organization is free service and it is a centralized place for all your AWS accounts. If you have multiple AWS accounts, you can place all your accounts at one place so that you can manage all your accounts with centralized policies. And also it offers consolidated billing across usage of all your AWS accounts to enjoy scale discounts. So this means, if you use AWS organization, AWS considers all your usage of all accounts as a single account usage, so that AWS provides more discounts to your usage. So let me show you on console how to find this AWS organization. So this is my AWS console. I'm logging with my root account. So if you want to set up AWS organization, just go to your root account name. This is my root account name. So go to your root account name and drop down, click on this arrow mark and click on my organization. This is the place. So this is the place where you can manage your organization. That means all your accounts. See, already I have one root account. It's showing my account here, Praveen Kumar, something like that. So if you want to add account here, click on add account. So you can invite. If you have existing account, you can invite to add, or you can directly create here and add, so that all your accounts will be come here. We can manage with these policies, see policies, all your policies. You can manage policies by applying these policies. So this is the organization. If you have, you can see all your accounts in a tree view. So I have only one account. I haven't added any accounts. That's why it's showing like this. If you have multiple accounts in your organization, you can see all here. You can manage policies. So on some policies you can manage. So this is the first step to secure your AWS environment. So next, root user. So when you first create your AWS account, you log in as a root user. So root user acts as a super user with full admin rights. So that is the reason you have to protect your root user. So to protect your root user, you must not have any access keys. You never ever create any access keys to your root user for programmatic access. And you should use this root user for limited purpose only, like first user creation or few user creation or groups creation, other group policies. You have to limit this root user usage, because it is not the purpose of using, it is a purpose of managing few other user accounts. And you should must put password be strong and rotate frequently. Password must be strong and rotate frequently. And you should enable MFA. MFA means multi-factor authentication. It provides additional security to your root account, so that whenever you log in into your AWS account using this root user, you will get one OTP kind of code. So once you enter that code, you can proceed further to do other activities. So root user is very important to secure your AWS setup. Let me show you on console. So this is my console. So I'm already logged in with root account. So if you want to set if you want to protect your root account, so go to drop down this here and click on my security credentials. So these are the best practices for your root user. You should put strong password. You should enable multi-factor authentication. You should not provide any access keys, and these are remaining things. So these are the main password, multi-factor authentication, access keys are major things to protect your root account. Yeah. Okay. So next, so third step is multi-factor authentication. As I said in step 2, so multi-factor authentication is a electronic authentication mechanism. So that means, so whenever you log in into AWS account using user credentials, username and password, you get one coded type OTP. So once you submit that OTP, you can proceed further. So this is the process of multi-factor authentication. It provides additional security to your account. So it is a must in secure your account and setup. So this multi-factor authentication is must in secure your account and setup, and it will protect your AWS users from unknown access. So once you enable this multi-factor authentication to any AWS user in your account, it will protect your AWS users from unknown access. That means, so even though if you know the password of the particular account, you cannot log into that account if you enable this multi-factor authentication. Okay, this is very, very important. So let me show you on console how to enable this multi-factor authentication. So go to this is my AWS account. So if you want to enable multi-factor authentication for root, you can directly go to here and click on security credentials. You can enable directly here. So I have already enabled multi-factor authentication for my root user. That's why it's showing like this. So I'm going to show you how to enable multi-factor authentication for another user, for another IAM user. So go to users. So this is I have already one user created. So click on this user. So click on security credentials. So here you can see assign MFA device. So I have not assigned any MFA to this Praveen user. So click on manage. See, so MFA is 3 types: virtual MFA and UTF security key and other hardware MFA device. So most used step is virtual MFA device. So to enable this virtual MFA device, to enable this MFA for any user, you have to install one authenticator app in your mobile phone. So like Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. So once you install that authenticator app in your mobile, you can come here, you can select this virtual MFA device and click on continue. Then it will prompt you to scan one QR code. So you have to scan this QR code through that installed authenticator mobile app. So once you scan this QR code, the account will be enabled with MFA. So after enabling this MFA, so whenever you try to log in this AWS account using this user account credentials, always you get one code. You have to submit that code, then only you can proceed further. So this is how you can enable MFA for any user. This is the most important and this is a must security feature to protect your users. So next, private subnets. So private subnet is very important for resources like database. Private subnet is very important for resources like database. So no matter what kind of infrastructure you build in the cloud, it will be in VPCs. So VPC is a logically isolated section of the AWS cloud where you can create all your AWS resources. So inside this VPC there are 2 types of subnets. So one is private subnet, one is public subnet. So regarding security, private subnet is very important. In our case, private subnet is very important. So the difference between both of them is private subnets have no internet connection, which means private subnets have no internet connection, which means the resources deployed inside them can only be accessed from inside VPC. If you want to be communicate those resources inside the VPC, you have to put those resources inside the private subnet. So except the resources inside the VPC, no other can communicate to that resources once you put in those resources in private subnet. This is a very important for resources like database. So you have to put database always in private subnets, because database is backend resources. You don't need to give access to everyone, you just give access to inside VPC resources. That's why you have to put this database in private subnets. Okay, so let me show you on console how to create the private subnet. So go to my console, this is my console as I said. So go to services and select EC2. So here not EC2, so go to VPC. So this is a network port, so you have to go to VPC. Here, so this is under virtual private cloud, click on subnet. So see, I have already 3 subnets, so 2 public subnets and 1 private subnets. So private subnet means private subnet does not have any internet connection to it. Public subnet means always have internet connection to it. So if you check, so click select private subnet. So go to route table. See here, this rule is a internet rule. If you see this rule in any subnet route table, that means that subnet is called public subnet. So if you go to private subnet route table, you cannot, usually you may not see this rule. That means this subnet is called private subnet. This is the only difference between public subnet, and private subnet. So route table is a place where you can write rules to your subnet. So this is how you can create your private subnet. If you want to create private subnet, just click on this create subnet, select your VPC. You have to mention subnet name and the availability zone. So every region one, you have to select one availability zone, otherwise you can leave it as AWS will choose required one. You have to select CIDR, that means IP range, pool of IP address, what the pool you want to put your private subnet. So you have to give here as per the VPC CIDR and click on create subnets. Once you click on create subnet, you will see like one subnet like this private subnet. This is how you can create private subnet. The only difference is route table, internet gateway rule. So private subnet does not have internet rule, public subnet has internet rule. So next step is NAT gateways. So NAT gateways are used to give internet access to resources located inside the private subnet. So as I said in step 4, so resources inside the private subnet does not have any internet connection, any internet connection. If you want to if you don't want to give any internet connection to resources, you have to put those resources inside the private subnet. But still, if you required internet access to resources located inside the private subnet, you should use NAT gateways. So NAT gateways, you should not move your resources from private subnet to public subnet. You should use NAT gateways. Through these NAT gateways, should give internet access to resources inside the private subnet. So in other words, so why you require internet to resources in private subnet? So if you have database in your private subnet, so if your database need any OS update, it will be able to connect to the internet to download this update. But someone from internet cannot talk to our database directly. That means, so if your database need any OS update, any patch update, any kind of update, you need to give internet access to that database through this NAT gateway. But you cannot talk to your database from outside, means from internet. So resources database to internet is possible, but internet to database is not possible. So that's why you should use NAT gateway. This security you can get only by using NAT gateway. If you put the database in public subnet, you cannot get this kind of security. So this is very important for private subnets, for mostly for databases. So what are the resources you put in inside the private subnet, you should use these NAT gateways to give internet access to those resources. Okay, so let me show you on console this. So this is my console. So go to VPC. You have to go to VPC service. So I'm already in VPC service. So come down, see here. So click on NAT gateways. So I don't have any NAT gateway. If you want to create one NAT gateway, so click on create NAT gateway. So give any name to NAT gateway and select your subnet. As I said, you want to give internet to you have to select your private subnet. You have to select your public subnet, because so when you create your NAT gateway, you have to select public subnet. So NAT gateway always placed at public subnet. So from public subnet to NAT gateway to private subnet to insert resources, like the network flow will be. So you have to select your public subnet here, and you have to select one elastic IP. Elastic IP means one public IP. It won't change. So public IP, it's a public IP, it won't change, it never change until and unless you delete it. So if you want to create NAT gateway, you have one public subnet, you have to select here, you have one elastic IP. So once you click on create NAT gateway, it will be come here. Then you have to attach this NAT gateway to private subnet. That means you have to write a rule in your private subnet root table. You have to write a rule in your private subnet's root table instead of internet rule. So public subnet having internet rule, right? So instead of that rule, you have to write this NAT gateway rule. That means you are attaching this NAT gateway to private subnet. You have to write one rule to your root table which is attached to private subnet. So this is how you can create a NAT gateway. So I'm telling very important security features to protect your AWS environment. So next, security groups. As you know, security groups are most common security feature to secure your ACT instances and elastic load balancers. This is a most common security feature to secure your ACT instance. It acts as a firewall. It acts as a normal firewall, and it is a stateful. Stateful means only allow rules can be written. So by default, everything will be denied by AWS. Just write what you want to allow. That's it. That means that process is called stateful. That's why we call it as a stateful to security groups. So let me show you on console. So this is my AWS console. Go to EC2. Drop down, come down and click on here under network and security. Click on security groups. So I have already a lot of security groups. You want to create another security group, click on this create security group, give a name and give a description and select your VPC. See, so these are the inbound and outbound rules. So outbound is always will be allowed by default. You don't need to write any outbound rules, you just write inbound rules. So what you want to allow, you want to give access to your instance, just write here, click on add rule, just give port and give the resource, IP address or security group, whatever it may be, just add here and click on create. That's it. Once you click on create security group, it will create one security group like this. So once you create your security group, just attach this security group to instance or your elastic load balancer. That's it. So all the rules in the security group will be applied to the particular instance or elastic load balancer. Next, network access control list, NACL, we called as a network ACLs. So it's also similar to the security groups with three main differences. So security groups applied at instance level, as I said in step 6, but NACLs applied at subnet level. So it always applied at subnet level. Next, deny rules are possible unlike security groups. So as I said in step 6, in security groups you cannot write any deny rules, you should write only allow rules. But here in NACLs you should write allow rules and deny rules, both you should write, unlike security groups. And this is stateless, means rule must be mentioned in inbound tab and outbound tab. As I said in step 6, in security groups you no need to write any rules in outbound tab. You should write rules in all your rules in inbound tab only. But coming to NACL, you should write all your rules in inbound tab and outbound tab. You should give all your rules in inbound and outbound. Otherwise, you may get connection errors. Okay, let me show you on console how to create this NACL. So again, go to VPC. So come down. So here under security, click on network ACLs. See here, I have already one network ACL with inbound and outbound rules. If you observe these inbound rules, see here, you have to give allow rule and deny rule, both you have to submit. And if you go to outbound, you have to give, here also you have to give allow and deny, but you should give these rules in outbound also, unlike security groups. So this is the case, this is the additional security to your AWS setup. Security groups are at instance level, NACLs are at subnet level. If you want to create new NACL, so click on create network ACL, give name, and select your VPC. So which VPC you want to apply this NACL, and click on create NACL. So once you click on create NACL, you will see one NACL like this with these inbound rules and outbound. You can add any inbound rules and outbound rules with both allow and deny. This is also very important to secure your AWS setup. Next, VPC endpoints. So VPC endpoint is a way of connecting to any AWS service without leaving AWS private network. In other words, without going through internet. So VPC endpoint is a private link to connect, to transfer data between two AWS resources like EC2 to S3, EC2 to database. So like that, if you want to connect two resources for application purpose, you should use VPC endpoint to secure your data. So without going through internet. So VPC endpoint always uses AWS private network. So and also to use this VPC endpoint, data transfer cost optimization also will be another benefit. So data transfer cost optimization technique, as it uses AWS private network. VPC endpoint is a data transfer cost optimization technique as it uses AWS private network. So if you use AWS private network in your AWS account, AWS applies very less cost to your usage. That's why it is one of the data transfer cost optimization technique in AWS. So high security and low cost. So it gives you less cost and it provides high security. So you should consider this VPC endpoint whenever you data transfer with two resources like EC2 to S3 and database like that. So always use this VPC endpoints if you face any situation like that. So let me show you on console. So VPC endpoints, again you have to go to VPC. I mean already in VPC. Come down. So click on endpoints. So I don't have any endpoints. So if you want to create new endpoint, so click on this create endpoint. So see, so you have to select destination service. Like I want to connect S3. So you have to click switch S3. So select this S3 service, and you have to select which subnet. So which subnet means by selecting the attached route table to that subnet, automatically the subnet will be applied here. If you select this root table, the attached subnet will be applied here. That means the private subnet. If you select this root table, the attached subnet to public subnet will be applied. But always you use VPC endpoints for private subnets. So you have to select this root table, and you have to give policy like full access or custom policy. You can give your policy as per your requirement. So click on create endpoint. Once you click on create endpoint, endpoint will be created. Okay, so now you can access your S3 from your EC2 instance through your AWS private network. So it never goes to internet because you are using VPC endpoints. This is how you can maintain VPC endpoints. So next, S3 cross region replication. So S3 cross region replication is a free S3 feature that allows us to automatically replicate every object uploaded to a certain bucket into another region to ensure consistency of the data. So we always prefer to store data in AWS. We always prefer S3 to store data in AWS. So if you lost that S3 bucket, you may lose all your data in case of any region failures or zone failure. That at that cases you should maintain this S3 cross region replication. So it replicates all your data from one bucket to another bucket which is located in another region. You should always use another region. But if you put both buckets in same region, there is no benefit. So you should put the secondary bucket in another region. So let me show you on AWS console. Go to services, click on S3, select your bucket here. I have already one bucket, so select your bucket. So click on that bucket. So go to management. So here you can see replication. Yeah, here you can see replication rules. So this is the replication policy. So click on create replication rule. So here you have to select. So rule name, status, source bucket. You have to select source bucket here and destination bucket also. You have to select destination bucket and the region and source bucket and the region. You have to give one IAM role also to replicate, and you have to select replication options also like like how much time you require to replicate and what are the, if you want to monitor that replication you can select this option. All your, you want to replicate deletion also you can select this option. Like that you can select your options as per your requirement. But before going to create this replication, should enable bucket versioning, otherwise you cannot create this replication. So this is how you can create cross region replication for your S3 bucket. So if you lost your data, there is no need to use any kind of infrastructure. So to protect your data is very, very important. So next, AWS Web Application Firewall. So it's a basic feature placed at outside of your VPC that will allow you to filter all kind of traffic before reaching your VPC as per applied policies. So it placed outside of VPC. It will filter all kind of traffic before reaching your resources inside VPC. So AWS Web Application Firewall lets you create custom rules and allow block IP traffic to prevent SQL injections, detect suspicious requests and much more. So AWS Web Application Firewall is always protect your web application which are located inside VPC from unknown access, SQL injections and suspicious requests, and you can write custom rules to block all kind of attacks. So this is very, very important to protect your web application inside AWS. So let me show you a console. This is a console. So go to services and here type WAF, means Web Application Firewall. So WAF and Shield. Click on this WAF and Shield. So this is, so click on this create web ACL. You have to create one web ACL, means web application, web access control list. So select name, CloudWatch metric name, and CloudWatch distributions. Like if you can protect CloudWatch distribution also one of the web application. We have to, so we have to select CloudWatch distribution. Could protect this. You can use these web application firewalls to CloudWatch distributions and regional resources like Elastic Load Balancer, like that. You have to select region also. And so this is how you can, once you click on this next, you will get custom policies tab. There you can create custom policies, like you can block request from particular IP, you can block particular request, you can block particular type of attacks. So everything you can do as per your requirement. This is very, very important to block your, to protect your web applications. This is how you can maintain this web application. So these are the 10 basic, most easy basic steps to protect your AWS setup. So these are very, very important for every AWS setup. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you have any queries on this video, please put your comments in comment section. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Don't forget to like the video.